Welcome to Hustle and Pro. We're talking sports from youth to pro, and today we're actually taking that little tagline to heart because we're here at FC Dallas, and we're talking to Brooke Leverette with the FC Dallas Foundation. So I'm your host, Kelly Walker, and welcome guest Brooke Leverette.
Thank you for having me, Kelly.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Thanks for talking to us. I'm excited to learn. So we talk a lot on this show about FC Dallas. Mm-hmm. We're talking to players, we've talked to broadcasters, Gina and Mark, coaches, all kinds of FC Dallas. But what we haven't touched on before is more off the field, more community stuff. And so I know of a few things you guys are doing, but I don't think in general my audience does. I just don't think enough people do. So I wanted to hear from you to kind of learn like what's happening with the foundation and all that good stuff. So I guess can you just kick us off by telling us like what is the foundation?
Yeah, of course. So the FC Dallas Foundation's mission is to support programs that promote education, health, and wellness to empower youth and communities here in North Texas. And we have 4 pillars under our foundation, and those are health and wellness, healthy and active lifestyles, education, character building, and then our newest pillar, which is social and economic impact. And then we have programs under each of those pillars that we activate all throughout the year.
I want to touch on those programs also, but I always like to talk to my guests about their kind of slice of the sports world too. So what is your role with the foundation though?
Yeah, so I joke that I have an entire closet full of hats because I oversee more than just the foundation.
Okay.
So foundation, that's a big chunk of it. And our day-to-day operations, financials, all of that I oversee. I also oversee our community relations arm, which would be any programs that are community facing that don't fall under our foundation's mission.
Oh, okay.
I also spearhead any programs from MLS Works, which is Major League Soccer's social responsibility arm.
Yes.
So any programs they have that we need to activate in our local markets, I oversee that.
Okay.
And then I'm also heavily involved with our diversity and inclusion committee. So that's closely tied with everything.
These are all things that have like quadrupled over the last 3 years.
For sure.
Right? Like
yes.
I've had soccer coaches on talking about the impact of racism in sports, and parents of athletes on talking about are we secluding certain kids from the sports we play and all these things, and talk to players about it, and it's really like opened up this whole new world. So that's probably added a lot to all of those different hats, right?
Definitely.
In the last couple of years.
Definitely.
So okay, now is your background and your passion and your interest more on like sports and you were looking for a sports world job, or is it really on like the health and wellness and the education, the community part?
So it's kind of twofold.
Okay.
I originally went to school to study marine biology, which ended up being nowhere near what I am now doing today.
Not here in the middle of North Texas.
No. I went down to the Gulf Coast for school, so Texas A&M Corpus Christi, go Islanders. But I quickly realized that I wouldn't be able to make a living unless I taught or did research. Didn't want to do either of those things. And I kind of reevaluated, and I was like, what has been a big part of my life, and what do I want to do with my life? Mm-hmm. Sports was something that was always ingrained in my childhood, and then making a difference has also been something that is very close to my heart. So I didn't realize all of the opportunities in sports, which is something I now am such a champion for when I speak to students and things like that, because there are so many opportunities that people don't realize.
Yeah.
And I was able to make a career out of it.
Your job is unique in sports.
Yes.
I mean, I know you hear this all the time, because I hear it all the time, and I'm, not as in like working in sports as much as you, but people that say, I want to get into sports, and they want to do sports marketing or sports management. I'm trying to think of all the titles of like your majors, right, in college and all these things. But there is so much. It's almost like I tell people at any business you go to, whatever the thing is that you're good at, that company or that business needs that probably. Yes. So just weave that in. And that's like here, especially when you're talking, I mean, we're sitting at Toyota Stadium. There's everything, encompassing this venue, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you work for a soccer team, but like there's so much more, right?
Right. I like to tell students that you can get a degree in anything and it will apply to sports. It's in some level, form, or fashion. You can be a photography major. We have a team photographer.
Sure.
Graphic design, we have a graphic design team. Accounting, we have a team of accountants. You can literally major in anything.
Even like merchandising.
Merchandising, marketing, sales, like
IT,
everything under the sun, it applies to the sports world. And that's something that I think a lot of people don't necessarily connect. And it's such an important thing to think about if sports is something you're passionate about, but you also really like to crunch numbers and deal with money. You can marry those two things and make a career out of it.
Right. You said sports was part of your life. Were you an athlete when you were younger?
So I grew up playing softball.
Me too.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
I also grew up a coach's kid. So my dad,
Me too.
my dad coached college softball and college baseball before transitioning to the administrative side of higher education. So
cool.
I grew up at a ballpark. It was something that was so important to my childhood. And he was actually a big champion in me kind of finding this path, because in his teaching, he taught a sport management class actually here at Collin College.
Oh my gosh.
He was like, you know, you'd be really good in this field. You need to think about this and explore different opportunities. And that's when I made that degree change, and I was like, you know what, this does make a lot of sense. And community relations, that's the direction I want to go. And I got lucky enough at the end of my college career, I needed an internship to graduate. I'm from here in Frisco. I'm Frisco ISD graduate.
You are?
Yes.
Okay.
So found the opportunity here with FC Dallas. I applied and I got the internship.
You came straight here and you never left yet.
Correct.
How long have you been here?
This is my 5th season.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Wow, what a great story.
Yeah.
I love FISD stories like that.
Yeah.
I just completed this class, a behind the scenes thing with the district, and we were at the CTE Center a lot and learned about all these internships and different tracks and how much they actually do try to keep kids or students that went through FISD working here in Frisco and all the different partnerships. So does FC Dallas kind of have that working relationship with the college and with the district to like get interns and students?
So with Frisco ISD, we definitely have a close relationship. We obviously host FISD high school football games, high school soccer games, all of that. Yep. And then one program on the foundation side that we work closely with them on is STEAM FC. And so that is a science, technology, engineering, arts, mathematics focused program that marries the world into soccer within those principles. So we see every single Frisco ISD 6th grader throughout the school year.
I thought, do they take field trips here?
Yes, they take a field trip. It's 4 stations. They tour the Hall of Fame. We have what we call a movement lab, which they go out and play some soccer. We do a stadium tour and highlight some different STEAM components throughout the stadium. And then we'd have a classroom lesson that we actually developed with Frisco ISD curriculum writers. So all of our classroom lessons within that program are up to state standard and can be taught in classroom and school.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yes, I had a friend with us one night at a game, and he said, we just came here for a field trip this week or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was so excited to tell us like the things that they did and learned about. I know, it was so cool.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm glad to hear that.
I know, it's a great partnership. Okay, I want to go back to softball though. So you played softball like all growing up? How far did you play?
I had a career-ending injury in high school. I broke my wrist, which ended up doing a whole other bunch of stuff. And
playing softball, you broke it?
No, I actually just fell and broke it.
Yeah, that's how it goes,
You
right?
can cut that out.
No, I mean sometimes it's the injury, and a lot. You know, a lot of the times it's not the sport that you're play or that you play that cuts you out of that sport. I also hurt myself playing softball too much. It was too much pitching. I just couldn't keep
broken wrist revealed deteriorated ligaments in my shoulder, that's what ended my career.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Were you pitching?
No, I was an outfielder.
Okay.
So, but I played so often. I played select softball, so every weekend during the summer, and it like just
all the time,
shredded everything,
like all year round. Was that your only sport, or were you multi-sport?
I played a little bit of volleyball. That was same motion, so did the same damage in my shoulder.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah.
So.
What high school did you go to?
I went to Heritage.
Okay.
Yes. So
how fun.
Our softball team right now is really good.
Okay.
Super exciting.
Okay.
They're ranked in the country.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Heritage softball.
Yep.
Okay, I'll look them up and find out. Wow, I didn't know all that. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned STEAM FC. I want to touch on some of the other aspects of what FC Dallas Foundation is doing, and that actually might not even be a foundation thing. You said that you wear all these hats, so that might fall under something else that you're doing, but is that a foundation thing?
It is. Okay. So it falls under our education pillar.
Okay. Yeah. Duh. Yeah, the education pillar. Okay, but when we come back, I want to talk about some other things. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll hear from our sponsor. We'll be right back with more from Brooke Leverette and the FC Dallas Foundation.
I want to tell you guys about Beyond Studios. I'm going there for Pilates right now and I love it and I want you guys to try it out. You can actually try your first class for free when you use my code Hustle and Pro. That's Hustle ampersand Pro, and you'll get your first class for free. So you can check it out at either their Beyond Studios location in West Frisco on 4th Army or the Beyond 500, which is at Lebanon and Legacy, and that's more of a cardio workout. So head to thebeyondstudios.com to find out more.
Welcome back. We're here with Brooke Leverette. So we talked about some of the you told us about the 4 pillars, but then I want to get into some of the more like programs and specifics. So field development, community action grants, Gear Up program, Unified team. We talked about STEAM FC already. There's so much. Like there's so many things that, like I said at the beginning, I want more people to just learn about and know about, because I think most of these things happen. Obviously, you're dealing with them every day, but they're not always broadcast in media, and you're not doing them to tell people. You're doing them because they're community initiatives. So that's what I want to talk through them. Let's talk about Gear Up. So this is FC Dallas Foundation collecting new and used soccer gear to redistribute around DFW. So what kinds of needs do you get, requests, and like what do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so one of the coolest things about this program is that we do focus here locally, but we also will donate some gear globally as well. So like you mentioned, we collect new and gently used soccer gear and redistribute that gear to groups, individuals in need. We work a lot with our youth teams with this program. So some of our youth athletes, they've done gear drives instead of asking for birthday gifts, or have done a team drive out at training, or whatever that may be.
That's cool.
Yes, it's super awesome. It's super awesome to see our youth kids give back. But we'll take that gear, donate it. We also have youth players that will go on mission trips and want to take gear. We'll help supply gear through this program.
That's cool.
We've also had first team players that have taken gear to where they're from. Some of our players from Ghana went back to Ghana and they took a bunch of boxes of FC Dallas gear back to groups in need back home. So
like spreading it all around.
Exactly, yeah. Cool. So being able to make that impact here locally but as well as globally is something that's super important to us.
I love that. And I also love, like I was just thinking, it's kind of the adults, it's kind of you guys collecting and doing, but everything you just mentioned was a player related kind of request.
Yeah, players, whether it's youth, academy, second team, first team, whatever it may be, we try to accommodate all of those groups, and obviously we're here to help as much as we can. So just assisting them where needed is what we love to do.
I love that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, building fields. So since 2011, I think, FC Dallas Foundation has been building fields to facilitate active lifestyles for underserved youth. I mean, here in Frisco, we're not going to like see all those fields necessarily around us. So I know there's a long list on the website, but what kind of, you said you've been here 5 years or 6 years?
Yeah.
So which projects have you been able to be a part of during that time, or that stand out to you?
Yeah, so we've built 9 fields to date. We're working on our 10th, hopefully making that ribbon cutting here in the next couple of months.
Oh, cool.
I'll get to that one in a minute because it's a really exciting field. But we've done everything from real grass to artificial turf to sport court, whatever it may be, to help accommodate the location, the organization we're working with. Some of our coolest pitches that we've done in the more recent, the past years, have been in partnership with GOAL, which is a program through Denton ISD and Little Elm ISD, that it's guys and girls operating as leaders.
Oh, cool.
And it's a lot of first generation students, and they use soccer as a tool to help promote staying in school and making sure that grades are met and all of that. Nice. So we've worked with 3 middle schools to build, we've refurbished tennis courts on those middle school campuses. And we've laid sport court so it can be a versatile playing space. So not only does GOAL use it, but then they can use it for adapted sports as well. So students in wheelchairs can also utilize those fields or mini pitches as we call them.
Mini pitches.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's neat.
But
Was there something at My Possibilities? I feel like
that's the one.
Oh, is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
So
I'm like, I feel like I don't remember when this was, but I was there at
back
a groundbreaking.
in September. Yes.
Okay, that's all. I can't even remember. But that was really okay. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
You are good. We are super excited about that. So we're building a pretty large real grass field out at My Possibilities, which is a nonprofit here in Plano that is essentially continuing education for adults with disabilities.
It's amazing.
It's amazing what they do. So
people, if you have a chance to volunteer, go check out My Possibilities. I feel like it's off of George Bush and like, I don't know what part of Plano. Coit, okay.
Ish.
But it's really amazing to see their facilities are amazing, but to see these young adults learning how to, how to be active and have real responsibilities. So anyways, segue, just wanted to shout out to what they're doing over there.
Yeah, so they have their phase 1 of their campus complete, which is the first building. We broke ground on the soccer field, which the long-term plan is to have an entire sports facility out there. So we're the first ones, we're marking our territory, but we're really excited about this field that we're building out there. It'll be, like I said, real grass. We're laying irrigation, light poles, whole 9 yards. It will be a big deal. So we're very excited about that. And that will actually be our 10th field. So we broke ground on that back in 2021, which was our 10th field to break ground on in 10 years. So really excited about that. And yeah, we'll be cutting the ribbon for that field here in a couple of months.
That's awesome. Yes. That's not just, getting some grass lined or something. That sounds really in-depth.
This project has been in the works for about 4 years now.
Oh, wow.
So we're really excited to get it over the finish line. And obviously COVID delayed things and then supply chain and this and that.
I think that's why I couldn't remember the timeline. I'm thinking, was this something I went to pre-COVID and it got delayed or after? It's really weird how it's messing with my timeline of different things and events.
You're not alone.
But yeah, I remember that day and having some of the hipsters.
Yes.
I couldn't remember what they call them.
Hipsters.
That's what they call the
hugely important people.
Yeah, hugely important people. I love it. Yeah, they're so cute out there. Okay, so now what we see on the east side of the stadium is not one of those, is it? Or is that a STEAM field or whatever?
Yeah, so that was one of the fields through our pitch development program.
Okay, I didn't know if it was classified as that. Okay.
Yeah, it is. That's the field that we utilize through STEAM FC.
Okay.
And one thing with STEAM FC as well that it is important to note is we really try to accommodate and ensure every student can come to that field trip regardless of financial situation or whatever that may be. So any student on free or reduced lunch, they get to come free of charge. And so utilizing our facilities, including that field and whatnot, to really make sure that all students have access to that program is something that is really important to us.
That's great.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, let's talk about community action grants. So I don't know a bunch of the details about how groups get involved with with actually getting the grants, but I do know, kind of just looking at some of the lists of people who are impacted, I mean, some of these recipients are like the LYRA group, which teaches life skills to the poor and underserved communities. Hugs Cafe, which I love because they provide meaningful employment to adults with intellectual or developmental disabilities. And there's a lot, but Frisco Fast Packs is another big one because they're helping feed students here in Frisco. And there's the need for that is way greater than most people probably realize. So
100%.
I'm sure there's a lot more. So tell me how you see it in the day-to-day that those grants are impacting everybody.
Yeah, our grant program is super cool because not only do we get to work with nonprofits that we already have relationships with, but we also are introduced to a lot of new nonprofits that we maybe are blinded to on a day-to-day basis that we then get to develop relationships with, regardless if they are awarded a grant or not. So our grant program, we do focus on nonprofits here locally, and we do try to grant funds to nonprofits whose missions are similar to ours, focusing on those healthy and active lifestyles, nutrition, education.
Yeah, so it aligns.
Exactly.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, and so our grant program, we typically do 4 grants per year at $5,000 each. And then we stay in contact with those recipients throughout the year. And then once we launch the next cycle, those recipients are free to apply again and continue
they
applying.
can.
Yeah, so we try to keep it on a 2-year cycle, so
Sure.
we can grant the same nonprofit 2 years in a row, and then we'll take a year off, and then they're free to apply again from there. So we try to spread the wealth as much as we can, but also we want to make sure that those nonprofits that are doing wonderful work and stay in close relation with us and all of that can continue to have that opportunity.
So, like with Hugs Cafe, for example, are you guys, so if they are granted the grant money and they win, do you just give them the money and they get to use it for whatever, or do y'all is it a thing you're doing with them?
Yeah, so typically it's an application process, so it's open to nonprofits, like I said, here locally. In that application, they have to outline what they would use the funds for.
Okay.
And then if selected, we will write a check, grant them those funds, and then about 6 to 8 months later, we'll ask for a check-in, and there's a list of things that we ask for those recipients to provide to make sure that the impact that they said they were going to make, they are working towards. And then those types of, check-ins are what will make them more eligible and more likely to receive another grant from
the next round.
Yeah.
And I would imagine those check-ins help you guys as a foundation too, when you're looking at the application process at each round, when you see like what somebody expects or anticipates this much, you could probably see for the next person, like, this 5,000 is going to be too much or too little for this goal. Like, it's too lofty or whatever. And you might be able to give them advice or help align them with like a more realistic expectation of what they're trying to do with their money. I bet you guys get better at that partnership too.
Yes, for sure. And with our grant program, that's something that the FC Dallas Foundation board, they select the grantees. And I'm the one collecting the applications and that whole 9 yards, and I can make my suggestions based off of past knowledge that we've gained or based off of the application that we received, all of that. And then also through this program, like I said, we get to build relationships with these nonprofits. And so, for example, Hugs Cafe, they were a grantee last year. We just did a volunteer event with them and took some of our front office staff to go volunteer with Hugs Cafe.
Oh, cool.
We've done the same with Bonton Farms in the past. I'm not sure if you're familiar.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. They're located in a food desert. They provide meaningful employment and then also fresh produce for that food desert that they're located in. Yep. They're a past grantee, and we took a bunch of staff out to volunteer with them once. So again, it's really important to us to build those relationships and maintain those relationships as well, rather than just cutting a check in. No, you're good. Rather than just cutting a check in and walking away. Yeah. We really want to build those relationships and continue
Does
those.
soccer ever come into play here? Like, do those groups come to games?
We do invite every year. We invite our 5 grantees to one match. They get to be recognized. Hopefully now that things are starting to calm down around COVID protocols, we can transition back to having that check presentation on the field and all of that. And then we try to get our players involved too and take them to those volunteer events and really try to expose them to nonprofits here locally also.
Yeah, that's probably been a challenge in your role, is you want the players to feel all of this with you and experience and get into their community, even if they're not homegrowns or whatever. They're here for a while, so they're part of it. But, player access has been so restricted lately, so it's probably been like a challenge for you to not be able to like send players to the hospitals and different things. I remember we used to go to children's and the players would talk to the kids. That's probably stopped right now. So have you guys had to adapt and do more virtual things, or?
100%. We actually just had a virtual hospital visit on Friday.
Okay.
So, but luckily we had the green light. We can start to get back to those in-person things. The hospitals are allowing that now.
Right.
With obvious protocols in place also, and we want to make sure our players stay safe as well. But we're slowly transitioning back to that, which is super exciting because I know everybody is so technologied out, zoomed out.
Yeah.
It's now it's gotten hard to secure players for those because they don't want to be on a computer anymore.
I know.
So,
everybody's over it. But man, those hospital visits, I would go as media sometimes and follow the little red wagon around and taking pictures and writing and stuff, and seeing those kids light up when those players walk in the room. I mean, it's really neat. So it warms my heart to know that that's back on the table.
Yeah,
so
and it's
great.
also good for our players because with such a young team, if they're 16, 17, 18 years old, if some of those kids are their age.
They're not that far off, right?
So it's so
they
good
can
for
really
them
relate,
to be able to relate, but also kind of see what else is happening out there in the world.
Not everybody has it as good as others.
Yeah.
Okay, then the last thing I want to touch on is the Unified team.
Yes.
I love this, and I feel like it's a Special Olympics kind of partnership, but I don't know if everybody knows how much happens with Unified team or what that even is. So give us a little synopsis of what the FC Dallas Unified team is.
Yeah, so the FC Dallas Unified team, like you said, is a partnership between FC Dallas and Special Olympics.
Okay.
And we have support from some corporate partners as well, Globe Life, Gallagher, Toyota. And the program is designed to bring individuals with and without disabilities together to play on one soccer team and go play together. And it's really cool because we were one of the first teams to jump on board with this program. And since then, almost every single MLS club has a unified team associated.
Oh, wow.
And the league, MLS, has adopted it as a league-wide program. So now we have a unified all-star match at All-Star.
Oh, really?
Yes, and the goal.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and
so they get to travel and do the whole thing?
Yeah, so the goal is really to provide as close to a professional experience as possible for our team. So this year we're going to travel down to Austin on June 25th and then to Houston on July 9th. We're still working on confirming our home match, but we'll bus down. We'll stay in the hotel that the first team is staying in.
That's a big deal.
We get to play in the stadium that the first team plays in, whole 9 yards. So the goal is really to make it as close to the professional experience as possible for our team.
And there's a mixture of people with and without disabilities.
Correct.
So it's not, I don't know if that's Special Olympics typical formula, but how do you get the players without? Like, do people just volunteer to be out there and play, or do you have to do they have to be qualified, or how do you get them?
So we actually host tryouts.
Okay.
And we host tryouts every 2 years. We like our teams to be together for 2 years. That way they can really get a full experience, get to know one another, whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
But we host tryouts and we promote that tryout to all of our youth teams and our academies. So a lot of our unified partners are folks that do play on FC Dallas teams already, which is really nice because that's
so cool.
another way that they get to give back to their FC Dallas family and community here locally.
Do you know what age range you're looking for the players?
Yeah, so typically the age range is between 16 and 25 years old.
Okay.
Our unified partners, which are individuals without disabilities, tend to be on that younger side, and our unified athletes, which are individuals with disabilities, are on that older end of that range.
That's so great.
Yeah.
One of our soccer friends, Chip Duchek, has coached and been a part of Unified. I don't know if he still does now.
So he's actually our head coach this
season.
Way.
Okay,
yes,
good.
Yes, we confirmed that last week. So we're really excited to have him on
they're
board.
Awesome. They are fellow season ticket members and they're seat neighbors of ours here, and they're actual neighbors of ours, and our kids go to school together and all these things.
Fun.
Yeah, our oldest are the same grade, and our youngest, well, no, he has a really young.
Yeah.
His middle is the same, and so we love, like, they're our soccer friends, and I just remember him, like, lighting up when he talks about Unified and getting to be involved. He also, maybe through that, but their family was like friends with the Hollingshead family, and when they were here, and they would do mission trips and different things and coach soccer in other parts of the country. And so there's so many ways that, soccer people can really touch others and impact the community. And so I love that unified team. So, so you said tryouts are every couple years. What time of year does that usually happen?
Typically the first 3 months of the year.
Okay.
So this year we hosted tryouts in March.
Okay.
That was a little on the later side. We like to get them done in February so we can
curious.
Yeah, get that team together and start training and preparing for matches throughout the season. So
that's so fun that group gets to travel together, and because that's actually and they get to play on the big field here too. But playing on the big field here is a big deal.
Yeah.
But then, like, getting on a bus and doing the whole, like, experience with your team and going to another city is so fun.
And prior to COVID, and we'll get back to this, we're taking flights across the country together. So it's a lot of fun, and it's one of my favorite programs that I get to work on as well. So every Friday night is when we train. I go out to training and I play with them.
I was going to ask if you are a partner.
I am not. I'm a little outside of that age range,
Okay.
but I volunteer. I joke that I'm our equipment manager and team admin. So I make sure, I know when you walked in today, you saw me laying out all of our
Getting gear ready.
kits and
Yeah.
everything. I book all of our travel and all that. So I take the role of equipment manager and team admin.
Yeah, I was gonna say team mom. That also sounds like a team mom role.
Yes.
That's awesome. I bet that's one of your favorite parts of all the hats that
Definitely.
you wear.
Definitely is.
Yes, you wear a lot. Are there any other programs that we didn't touch on that we should?
Oh, goodness.
I know, there's
You're
probably a
gonna
lot.
quiz me.
Those were the ones I had written down. So if there is something else, I don't want to leave it out if it's
I
important to
think
you.
one other thing that's important to touch on is our Homegrown Partner Program. And this isn't necessarily under our foundation, but it definitely aligns with our community relations, social responsibility,
Sure.
diversity and inclusion efforts. And our Homegrown Partner Program focuses on providing local minority-owned businesses with assets of being a corporate partner of FC Dallas free of charge. So.
Okay.
Similar to our grant program, it's an
Right.
application process, but this is geared more towards for-profit businesses. And we select 5 every year, and this last year, 2021, was the first year that we did it. And one success story is one of our homegrown partners from last year actually transitioned to a long-term partnership starting this year.
Oh,
So
wow.
Casa M Spice, you'll find them in our team stores here locally that you can purchase their product and all of that. There are a few concession items that feature their product, but
Okay, yeah, I'm like,
it's a really
I feel
cool
like
program.
I've seen this. What is it?
Casa M Spice,
Yeah.
they're a spice company,
Right.
so they have spice blends.
I feel like I've seen them.
The bottles in the team stores,
Maybe.
that's probably where
Yeah,
you've seen it.
it must have been.
Yeah, and
That's
I think
great.
we have a pulled pork sandwich that features one of their spice blends.
That's where I've seen them
Okay.
on Food Day. What is the
Oh,
Stadium
the
Eats Day, right?
Stadium Eats, yes.
Stadium. I'm like, oh my gosh, that name. Okay, yeah, Stadium Eats Day. Yes, so they do spice up some of the food here then.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
cool.
Yep, it's a super fun program to work on, and we also make sure that, as with a lot of our corporate sponsors, they have in-stadium signage. We'll work on community outreach initiatives with them, all of that kind of stuff. So they really get
That's
the
so
full
cool.
experience of being a corporate partner of FC Dallas.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I didn't. It's newer. And,
It is, yes.
I've seen it come across, but I didn't know exactly what that meant. So
Yeah.
that's very cool.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, these are short episodes, so, we won't get into it here, but like we could do a whole thing just on the social and the diversity and all of those kind of a little bit newer programs that have
Yeah.
really taken shape here lately. So we'll do a round 2 one day. And
Sounds good.
dig into some of those things.
Yeah.
But but thank you for your time. I know that you're busy, like you said, walking through the hallway. I see all your gear and you're gearing up for Unified team
Yes.
activities. So appreciate your time. And
Of course.
shout out to Gina Miller for letting us use her space today.
Yes.
We kind of overtook Gina's office. So thank you. Thanks for letting us be in here, Gina. And thank you for listening to this episode of Hustle and Pro. Whether you listen at your favorite podcast platform or you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe so you can get notifications for the next episode. And follow us on Instagram at Hustle and Pro. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.